On the 10th of February 1675 came the Indians with great numbers upon Lancaster. Their first coming was about sunrise. Hearing the noise of some guns, they looked out. Several houses were burning, and the smoke ascending to heaven. There were 5 persons taken in one house. The father and the mother and suckling child they knocked on the head. The other 2 they took and carried away alive. There were 2 others who, being out of their garrison upon some occasion, were set upon. One was knocked on the head, the other escaped. Another there who was running along was shot and wounded and fell down. He begged them for his life, promising them money, but they would not listen to him and knocked him in the head and stripped him naked and split open his bowels. Another, seeing many of the Indians about his barn, ventured and went out, but was quickly shot down. There were 3 others belonging to the same garrison who were killed. The Indians, getting upon the roof of the barn, had advantage to shoot down upon them over their fortification. Thus, the Indians went on, burning and destroying before them. At length they came and beset our own house, and quickly it was the most miserable day my eyes saw. The house stood upon the edge of a hill. Some of the Indians got behind the hill, others into the barn, and others behind anything that could shelter them. From all places they shot against the house, so that the bullets seemed to fly like hail. And quickly they wounded 1 man among us, then another, and then a third. About 2 hours they had been about the house before they prevailed to fire it. They fired it once, and 1 ventured out and quenched it, but they quickly fired it again. Some in our house were fighting for their lives, others wallowing in their blood. The house on fire over our heads, and the Indians ready to knock us on the head if we stirred out. We heard mothers and children crying out for themselves and one another, "Lord, what shall we do?" Then I took my children to go forth and leave the house, but as soon as we came to the door and appeared, the Indians shot so thick that the bullets rattled against the house, as if one had taken a handful of stones and threw them, so that we were fain to give back. We had 6 dogs belonging to our garrison, but none of them would stir, though another time if any Indian had come to the door, they were ready to fly upon him and tear him down. The Lord hereby would make us the more acknowledge his hand, and to see that our help is always in him. But out we must go, the fire increasing, and coming along behind us roaring, and the Indians gaping before us with their guns, spears, and hatchets to devour us. No sooner were we out of the house, but my brother-in-law fell down dead, whereat the Indians scornfully shouted and hallowed, and were presently upon him, stripping off his clothes, the bullets flying thick, and the same through the bowels and hand of my dear child in my arms. One of my elder sister's children, named William, had then his leg broken, which the Indians perceiving, they knocked him on his head. Thus were we butchered by those Indians, standing amazed, with the blood running down to our heels. My eldest sister being yet in the house, and seeing those woeful sights, the infidels hauling mothers one way, and children another, and some wallowing in their blood, and her elder son telling her that her son William was dead, and myself was wounded, she said, "And Lord, let me die with them," which was no sooner said, but she was struck with a bullet, and fell down dead over the threshold. I hope she's reaping the fruit of her good labors, being faithful to the service of God in her place. In her younger years she lay under much trouble upon spiritual accounts, till it pleased God to make that precious scripture take hold of her heart. And he said unto me, "My grace is sufficient for thee." More than 20 years after, I have heard her tell how sweet and comfortable that place was to her. But to return, the Indians laid hold of us, pulling me one way, and the children another, and said, "Come, go along with us." I told them they would kill me. They answered, if I'm willing to go along with them, they would not hurt me. Of the 37 persons who were in this house, none escaped either present dead or a bitter captivity. There were 12 killed, some shot, some stabbed with their spears, and some knocked down with their hatchets. There was one who was chopped into the head with a hatchet, and stripped naked, and yet was crawling up and down. It is a solemn sight to see so many Christians lying in their blood, some here and some there, like a company of sheep torn by wolves, all of them stripped naked by a company of Indians, roaring, singing, ranting and insulting, as if they would have torn our very hearts out. Yet the Lord by his almighty power preserved a number of us from dead, for there were 24 of us taken alive and carried captive. I had often before this said that if the Indians should come, I should choose rather to be killed by them than taken alive. But when it came to the trial, my mind changed. Their glittering weapons so daunted my spirit that I chose rather to go along with those Indians than that moment to end my days, and that I may the better declare what happened to me during that grievous captivity. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about our latest videos.